Hello, boys and girls, new friends. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to read a brand new chapter for you of Marina Royale by Apricot Banks. In this chapter, what's happened is Hubert has found the silver shell. He's inside the silver shell. Let's see what happens next. Chapter 6, It's a Bird. It's a shell. The only thing that made Hubert sad was the long walk ahead of him. Olga had jetted through the water 100 times faster than Hubert could go. In minutes she had carried him past the drop-off, but it would take Hubert days to walk home. As he walked, thinking about the new shell cheered him up. Not too tight, not too loose. With each step, the shell's lights showed the way. He moved his arms and legs easily. The walk home might be fun. Up ahead, he saw a tasty piece of fish on the sand. He trapped the fish in his silver claws, but before he could toss it into his mouth, he stopped. How could he eat? His mouth was closed up inside the shell. If he opened the top, his back would be naked. A sea lion could swim down and chomp on him. Hubert didn't know what to do. In his claw, the delicious morsel looked so good. Just thinking about the tasty treat made him drool. He wanted to eat that fish. He opened his mouth. The shell made a whirring sound. In front of him, a little door opened in front of his face. He tossed the fish in through the door and caught it in his mouth. Delicious! Hubert never knew how tasty the fish were in the deep ocean. On Rainbow Reef, he ate the same old fish every day. Walking along the ocean floor, Hubert stopped to snack on delicious morsels. Everything was fine until his legs got tired. His new shell was heavier than the soccer ball. Many hours had passed. Sparky would be worried. At least, he hoped his friends still cared. Maybe now that Sparky was such good friends with Olga, he wouldn't need Hubert anymore. Hubert wished he could talk to Sparky and make sure they were still best friends. But no matter how fast he tried to go, the trip home would take days. He needed a rest. His legs were tired, and his eyes felt scratchy. Hubert yawned. It was long past his bedtime, and he was exhausted. There was no choice. He was going to have to sleep in the deep ocean. He shivered. There were sharks and sea lions, and if you believed Emma and Aiden, there were sea monsters, too. Why did he have to find this stupid silver shell? It was too shiny to hide. The lights would attract attention everywhere it went. What if he fell asleep and some curious sea monster picked him up for a closer look? It could carry him to its lair, deep inside the ocean trench, and Hubert would never see his friends again. Somehow he had to hide. A spy would know what to do. As a spy in training, Hubert knew the shell was too valuable to throw away. He just needed to cover it while he slept. Maybe he could find another cave. Hubert searched as he walked but couldn't find any caves. Moving at a steady speed, the ocean bed went from rocky to sandy. He had left the caves behind. Should he turn back or keep going? From hours of carrying the heavy shell, his muscles ached. Hubert could hardly move. His eyelids drooped. If he didn't lie down soon, he was going to fall over snoring. Hubert dug into the sand with his sharp new claws. Next, he backed in and started covering himself. As he did, he banged the front of the silver shell with his big metal claw. Ouch! He jumped up in pain, sending his head forward, and he bumped his forehead against a big red button on the shell in front of him. The button lit up. Rumbling filled his ears, and the shell started vibrating. What was happening? He was trapped inside a rumbling, roaring beast of metal. He leaned forward, shifting his weight. Hubert's natural claw slid forward inside the metal cover, banging into some kind of bar. On instinct, he leaned on the bar to stop his fall, gripping it with his pincer. His wrist flexed, and it twisted forward. Roar! There was a revving sound like a speedboat. The shell hummed and shook as it started moving. It leaped out of the sand and shot through the water. Wow! Hubert was speeding faster than Olga or Sparky or the fastest dolphin he'd ever seen. This wasn't a shell. It was a submarine with an engine that revved faster when he twisted the grip inside the silver pincer. Hubert didn't know how to steer or stop. Help! The silver shell raced straight up. Around him, the color of the water got lighter and lighter as he jetted toward the surface. Near the top, the blue water turned clear. Looking from below, the smooth surface of the ocean looked like a mirror. Hubert flew out of the water and into the air. Seagulls scattered, squawking at him. "Sorry," Hubert said, but the rumbling engine covered the sound of his voice. The sun was up. He had survived the night, but at this speed, would he live to see lunch? He was almost at the reef. Past the reef was the beach. Angling his body to look down, Hubert felt the shell turn and aim at the ground. He was flying right at it. If he hit land going this fast, his shell would shatter and scramble him like an egg. He had to turn around. Hubert tried kicking his feet. No good. The shell kept flying at the beach. Hubert poked his head high into the dome. It gave him a terrifying view of the beach where he was about to crash. Dead ahead, a little kid was building a sandcastle with chubby fingers. Oh no, the tiny human didn't see him coming. Desperate, he tried pointing his claws up. Air rushing over his claws turned him like a kite on a string. His path leveled out, sending him safely over the beach. Finally, he could steer. When he dropped his left claw, he turned left. When he dropped his right claw, he turned right. If he pointed his body down, the shell aimed down. When he angled himself, he went up. Not only could Hubert swim faster than any fish, but he could also fly like a bird or a plane. He was going too fast. Hubert flew at the reef, which was made of rock-hard coral. Before he got too close, Hubert turned away. He aimed for his neighborhood. He wanted to go into the water and jet over the park where his friends played cards. The sun was barely up, but he hoped they would go outside and notice he was still alive. It would be so cool if they saw him swim by inside the best shell in the ocean. Too bad he couldn't make it stop. All right, thanks for listening. I'm going to read you another story the rest of the story very soon. Until then, happy reading. And don't forget to visit my website if you want to get the free activity book. And I'll see you then. Happy reading.